I'll try to look awake.
Look away, because we're live now. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. It is live backstage with Cindy Rowe, and I have a wonderful friend and guest of mine, Mike of J-Dawg Jerky, which happens to be one of my favorite jerkies, and not because he's my friend, but because it's damn good. So welcome, Mike. How are you?
Welcome. I'm great. I got a little bit of green on. Just enough. I got a little Irish in me. Yeah, great.
I got my hat.
You look very festive.
My dog found this on the kitchen table and decided it was a chew toy. And I'm like, no, I need it for my show.
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway, so J-Dawg Jerky, tell me how you got started. Yeah, tell me and everybody else that's going to watch now and later.
Yeah, so I've always liked beef jerky ever since I was a kid. And I work for a company called Benson Stone, as well as my jerky company. And they sell these ceramic grills, kind of like a big green egg. And so 3 years ago, we had the opportunity to buy one at like a wholesale cost. So I bought one and I started smoking everything. I just smoked hamburgers. I smoked, everything you can imagine, ribs, steaks, you name it. And I finally got to doing some jerky. And then I went online and I found some recipes for how to make jerky. And I started playing around with those recipes and I found one that I liked. And then I tweaked it because I really wanted some more heat. So I tweaked it a little bit. I did some other things. And I started passing it out to my friends and family, and they really liked it. And they're like, a couple of my friends are like, you could probably sell this stuff. So I kind of started selling it to my friends. And no, not really any businesses. I was afraid to do that. And I looked into all the laws, and there's a lot of laws about selling food and how you make food and where you make food. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then it took me about 6 months of research to find a facility that would make small batches and do custom stuff. Mm-hmm. When I first started looking, I found a lot of places that would make 2,000-pound batches. Well, if you figure out how many 3-ounce bags are in 2,000 pounds, it's a lot. So I came across a place in Illinois, went down there, met with them, sent them some stuff. And eventually, through some testing, and they were doing as little as like 4 or 5 pounds, so nice. We really could get into some different stuff. And I wasn't at a high risk because of that. If it turned out bad, I'm only out a few bags. And we got the what's my original recipe. My original flavor is my very first flavor, and it kind of started from there. And then I started just adding flavors, and over the last 2.5 years, it's been really fun.
I love the original. I think that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It has just a slight bit of heat to it.
It does.
What I love about your jerky is that it actually looks like meat. Like you can see it's like you're getting good meat there. So how did you market yourself? How are you taking this to the next level? Like what have you done to grow?
That's it's an ongoing process. I started out trying to get into some of the stores, the gas stations and such, and I found I'm still in a few of the mobile stations through a distributor, but I found that when I'm in the same area as say 10 or 15 other flavors, the chances of somebody grabbing my bag are pretty minimal. So I went to some of the meat stores in Rockford, like 640 Meats, Pinnins, and I went in there and I asked them, do you guys sell any beef jerky or do you make any beef jerky? Because some meat places do make beef jerky. Mm-hmm. And the ones that said no, I said, well, listen, I've got some here. Would you like to sell it? And I think just about all of the ones I went to in Rockford said yes, and they sold it. And they've done really, really well. The great thing about that is that I am the only jerky product in that store. Now they might have beef sticks or something else in the meat, but they don't have beef jerky. So I'm the only one in there. And, if you're the only one in there, that's just generally what the employees are going to eat if they're going to eat beef jerky, and they're going to talk about it, and they're going to give you, a little bit of free marketing.
Right.
So that's how I worked that end of it. From there, I went out to a distillery in Harvard, Rush Creek Distilling. That was my first brewery distillery I ever went to one time.
Nice.
And I noticed they didn't serve food. And I just went out there to have a drink. I had no idea I would do this. And they didn't have any food really. So I said, hey, I make this beef jerky. Would you guys be interested in selling my beef jerky? And they said, yeah, we might sell some of your beef jerky. What's the chances of us getting our whiskey into some of your beef jerky? And I was like, wow, that's a really wild idea. So we did some test patches, sent some whiskey down to my kitchen. It took us probably a month of testing because the whiskey is a 5-year-old bourbon, so it's not cheap, but we wanted to get good flavor for a good price. Mm-hmm. Got it all worked out, and that was my first collaboration with a brewery or distillery. From there, I met with the guys at Urban Forest. That was my first brewery in Rockford. And through them, I've developed probably at least 10 different craft beer flavors that I sell on a seasonal basis. So when Oktoberfest comes in, I'll get some of that, send it down. We'll do a batch. Mm-hmm. And then when the beer's gone, obviously I can't make it anymore. They make an amber rye ale, which they have been making pretty consistently, and I have made that one of my staples. And about 2 months ago, I don't even know if you've tried this yet, but I've got an amber rye chili pepper now that's got a cayenne chili pepper in there that's really hot. Really hot.
I don't know if I could do it.
So that may become my next standard item, which would give me like 7 SKUs, which, wow. I think I kind of like to limit myself to about 10. I don't want to get too crazy. I do have people ask me, well, can you do a deer jerky? Can you do a turkey jerky? Can you do a chicken jerky? And what I always tell them is, I really want to do one thing and do it really, really good. Right. If you want the turkey, go find the guy that specializes in turkey. It'll probably be better than anything I would make anyway. So I'm focused on beef. I really think what I do is good, and I get a lot of really good feedback. It's been so well received, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
People really, really like it. It's great. So now, in finding my comfort spot, my niche, I've started going out and talking to breweries and asking them, hey, you've got some great beers here. How would you like to have your own jerky using one of your own beers in the marinade to sell in your own store? That gives them an opportunity to sell the customer something they can take home with them that has their product in it. It gets their name in front of the customer when they go home, and gives them a little bit of a neat experience. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and I've been visiting a lot of breweries. It's been really rough, but I've been enjoying it, meeting a lot of great people. And in the last 2 weeks, I think I've gotten 6 breweries signed up.
Wow. So if you add those to your SKUs, that's going to put you over the dream of having 10? No, because those will all be considered seasonal. Okay. None of those beers that I know of, at least at this time, are going to be consistent. And if they are, these jerkies I'm making for the breweries are generally going to be sold only by that brewery. Oh, okay.
If the brewery wants to sell my other flavors, they can, but my main focus is to get them to sell the jerky where they use their own beer. Now, some of them have already signed up and are selling my jerky as well.
Great.
But they can also, let's say I do one jerky for them and it turns out great, and they have another beer. They're like, well, maybe we should try this beer. Maybe they'll do 3 or 4 or 5. I'll accommodate all of those.
That's super cool. So how long does it take you to, go through that whole process? If they've got the beer that they want and then turn it into the jerky and get it into their brewery, like what's that process? So
that process, I have to get roughly a gallon of beer does a small batch, what we consider a small batch. It's about 50 to 60 bags of 3-ounce bags of jerky. So I get that beer. Generally, I'll let it go flat for a couple days. Less pressure in the bottle when you send it is less risk. Send it down to my kitchen. It takes about 10 days and to convert that into a jerky. It goes into a marinade, sits in the marinade for 24 to 36 hours, depending on what the jerky is. Then it goes into a smoker and gets smoked for 2 to 4 hours. Adds a little smoke flavor. The one difference about my jerky versus most of what you see in the store is that mine's only smoked. It's not dehydrated. So when you smoke it, you're locking in the flavors. It stays much more tender.
That's the word I was looking for.
It retains like 48% of the moisture. So it's very easy to eat. And so in about 10 days after they get it, it gets shipped back to me, ready to go to whoever's buying it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround. Most of the meat is sourced through my kitchen, but I found out it's sourced out of Wisconsin, which is great. So it's almost local. I try to use local whenever I can. Local beers, local whiskeys. I just signed a deal with Kenne Farms down in Rochelle, and we're going to try we're doing some tests with a gin flavored jerky, which would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
How do you manage like the controlling factor of the, quality control for the meats that your kitchen uses?
So I go down to the kitchen, probably every 2 or 3 months, and we meet with them. They have been so consistent in the meat quality. It's ridiculous. I mean,
great.
A bag that I had 2 years ago tastes just like a bag now. I mean, it's amazing how, and they get the same ingredients. I send them the beer, I send them the whiskey, everything else they source locally, the spices and things like that, and the meat. And I've just been really, really lucky. I've got a great staff of 3 to 4 people down there that do this, and they've been very consistent, just real consistent. I have no issues with the product quality at all. It's been very high the whole time.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's don't you have like a peppered whiskey?
I do. That's my favorite. Yeah.
I think that's my I think my favorite is the original, but that peppered whiskey is my second favorite.
Yeah.
But I need to try one of the local brewery ones for sure.
If you want to do that, I'm going to be dropping some off at Urban tonight. That's a raspberry chocolate porter.
Oh.
It's a really unique, delicious flavor. We're doing it.
It's like super sweet, or
it's kind of a dark flavor with maybe the bitterness from the chocolate, and a little citrus from the raspberry. It's a really good flavor, real earthy, and that's like a seasonal. You're not going to make that often. So when the bags I had are gone, it's gone.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you said you also have another job and you're creating this business. How do you balance? What are your struggles? Like, what's that like?
I need a clone. That would solve everything.
Yeah. But it's more than a hobby. That's really what I want. Like, it's more than a hobby. You are, building your dream of this jerky company while you're working and, supporting your family.
It is definitely my goal to do this full time. Someday, I have a 16-year-old son who's kind of the inspiration for the company. And someday it would be great if he came to work for me and eventually got the business. That would be my ultimate goal. I'm just having so much fun doing this compared to any other job I've ever done, working for someone else. I've had a lot of friends along the line help me out. You're one of them. I don't know if anyone knows, but she designed this logo right here.
That's cool.
It is very cool.
I should have worn my shirt. Oh, I didn't even think because it's St. Patrick's Day.
That's okay.
I suck.
But, you get all kinds of help along the way, and that's real beneficial. A shout out to Sam Myers, who helps me a lot of times on the weekends when I'm going to these breweries and I'm going to go sell a market. He's out there helping me quite a bit. I would say one of my biggest struggles is, if I could be out there 5 days a week pounding the pavement, I mean, I could grow this a lot faster than it is. Yeah. Down the road, one of my problems might be my capacity, for production, but that's not an issue right now. So that's something I'll come across. When I first started this, my goal was to sell 100% of my jerky online. and just fill boxes and send them out. And if I could ask you for any help down the road, tell us how to get more traffic to our websites. That's my, I'm spending money with Facebook, and it's not producing anywhere near what I would like to see. I would like to, I get orders every week, but I don't get orders every day. I want orders every day.
Sure.
It's a lot more fun being out there, meeting people, talking to people, collaborating. That's a whole social thing that's just a level above, filling boxes. But I'd still want that too, That's kind of like automatic money.
Right.
Is what that is. And that's what I want. So that would be my biggest online hassle right now, is getting people to the website to buy, or triggering people to buy. I'm trying to attend all your classes and your webinars, but I'm not there yet. Trying.
So I'm going to step back a bit. You said your son was an inspiration for your company. Can you tell the viewers about that?
So he's 16. When he was younger, we would go fishing or hiking or whatever. We would always buy some jerky and have it. And he's just a big jerky fan. So when I first started the business and I was doing some markets, he would come to the market and work the market with me. When he got older, the iPhone got in his hand and it ruined him.
Yes,
and he's not focused on that now, but that's where the name J-Dawg came from. His name's Jaden. And when he was young, his nickname was J-Dawg. We called him J-Dawg ever since he was about 3 or 4 years old. We still call him J-Dawg. But he loves the jerky. He loves eating it. He loves, being one of my sample testers whenever I come out with a new flavor. I think down the road, he'll get back into it some more.
Yeah. Well, 16 is a tough age,
yes.
as we know. Yeah. We are well aware. We've already been through one 16-year-old. So besides going almost like door to door, I would say, to these breweries or locations that you want your product in, what else do you do? I've seen you at City Market when that was live. Yeah. What else do you have in the works of how people can find your product?
Yep. So I did City Market. I kind of pulled out of that for the near future. I was at the Beloit Market 2 years ago before COVID. When COVID came in, they cut it from 200 vendors down to somewhere like 70, something like that. And since I was a newbie, they cut me. So I found a market up there at Kaufman's Country Store, which is on Highway 81, about 5 miles west of Beloit. And Steve Williams, that runs that, built a market from, I think, 8 vendors. When the first time we went there was about 8 vendors. And by the end of that summer, I believe he had 38 vendors out there. Oh, many of those were displaced vendors from Beloit. So I'm planning on going back there this summer, starting May 8th. We'll be outside selling again. And that's great. I mean, they get a lot of people there. Great word of mouth. There's a chance I might be able to give out some samples up there this year. For me, samples are huge. When I had the Rockford City Market, just about everybody that sampled my product would buy a bag of something. When you can't do that, it's a lot more difficult. They want to taste it. I get it. So this winter, Beloit offered an indoor market. It's not downtown, but it's near downtown, and I've been there all winter. I think I've done well. It's not like the summer market, but I've done well there, and that goes through, I think, May 1st. So I'll be there every Saturday morning from 9 to 12. It's at 557 Grand Avenue. There's a big sign outside the building, and there's about 17 vendors in there when it's full, and there's some really great vendors. I mean, produce, meats, fresh baked breads, a lot of good stuff. So that, and then I signed up for another thing I used to do prior to the COVID was beer festivals. I did Flannel Fest in Janesville. I did a beer fest, an ale fest out in Naperville, and I just got confirmed yesterday for Rib Fest in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, which is a 4-day event
Yeah,
80,000 people go to this thing, and that is in July. So I will be there.
that is awesome.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And I'm always looking for more events. I mean, I'm in a bunch of groups where we share what's going on in events. And, if it's something I can get to and it's big, I'm going to get there and try to get the word out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So overhead, do you have a lot of overhead costs? Having somebody that's producing your end product, is that?
Yeah. I mean, besides the production cost, other things that a lot of people don't consider. If you're in the food business, you need to have food liability insurance. You've got to pay for labels. You've got to ship all these things back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a really nice tent set up for my markets that, needs to be kept up. I'm looking at some new tabletop covers now that cost $200. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overhead. And then if you do Facebook advertising, my goodness, it gets up there.
Right.
So, I'm in my second year. I haven't generated an income off of this yet, but I know that it's all about volume. So when my volume gets to a certain point, all the overhead's taken care of, and it becomes almost pure profit.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping in the next year to get there.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know you are motivated, and you've got a good quality product. So I believe you can get there. What's been one of your biggest wins, or like that big pat on the back that you want to give yourself through this whole process?
Wow. Probably, I still get amazed. I'll sit at Urban Force sometime having a beer, not telling anybody who I am, and just watching the people 3 seats down from me try it and, tell the bartender this is like the best jerky they ever had.
Yeah.
That's a huge win for me. That's a huge win. It's nice to get a big order. That's another, confirmation. I think the fact I'm able to go out and in 2 weeks get 6 breweries to sign up is a big win for me. So there isn't one win. They kind of come and go, but I mean, yeah, they feel great every time. And, when the customer's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I would recommend to every entrepreneur out there, you call Cindy and you sit down with her over lunch and get some ideas, because you have helped me a lot.
Thank you. That's
I
very
appreciate
kind of you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the positive. So tell me something negative or a big lesson you learned so far in this process. It doesn't have to be a negative, but like a lesson that maybe, somebody else out there starting a business or at the beginning stages,
Well, one of the first things I would say is before you jump into it, do your research. I took basically 6 months to research this before I actually spent any money. And I took a pad of paper, I wrote down every expense I could think of, and I didn't get them all. That food liability insurance hit me and I didn't know about it. And you've got the fee to be in some of these markets. That's another expense. Some of them aren't cheap. And then you've got to think a little bit about your brand before you go out there too. Who are you? What do you want to look like to the public? And that's where you helped me a lot, there. And then the other thing is, the cash flow is always an issue. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to grassroots cash flow this thing without having to put more money in it for my initial investment. And it's kind of self-sustained, but there's times when the cash gets tight, when I have to go out and buy 2,000 labels, or, it can be very expensive and it can creep up on you really quick. The more the more prepared you'll be. Maybe get a line of credit at a bank if you expect to do some big numbers, something like that. I haven't had to do that yet, but if I get big, I'm sure I will.
Oh shoot! I just had a question.
When I get big, I'm sorry.
Exactly. The power of words. Power of words. Yeah. What is your typical customer? What does that person look like?
Oh wow. You would be my
Your
typical
ideal
customer.
customer.
My typical customer is, it could be anyone from a hunter, a hiker, a biker, to someone that's corporate that just likes a healthy snack. I promote on Facebook the health of my products. I promote the to the dieters that are on the ketos and the Atkins. It meets all those requirements. Hunters are big. Any outdoor sportsmen, runners. I actually sell my product in the vending machine at Peak Fitness.
I saw that on Instagram. That's awesome.
Obviously, they believe it's healthy enough to sell there, like right next to the potato chips, But, I guess my customer is willing to pay the same or slightly more for higher quality. They don't always know that till they buy my product, but once they've had it, they're usually like, you know what, I would have paid an extra $1 or $2 for that because that's so good.
Yeah.
I'm priced at a price point that's very competitive with what you get in the store, but it's a whole level above what you get in the store, I think.
I would have to agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a highly competitive market. I mean, it's so competitive, it's insane. I mean, there's 10,000 jerky companies out there.
Yeah. Is there a lot of local competition for the artisan jerky?
No, there isn't really. No. I think Edwards Apple Orchard has one that they supply called Mike's Beef Jerky. I don't know. I think that's made in Wisconsin somewhere. So we're going to try to change that next year to more local.
That's awesome.
But no, and the other thing about my niche with these craft beer breweries is, as far as I know, no one else is doing this in the country. So if I can just keep on it, keep busy doing it before anybody else figures this out, I can dominate the market.
Yeah.
Because once I'm in there, if they like it, they're going to keep using me. I mean, Urban Forest is one of my best sellers for my jerky, and they keep cranking out great beer, and it just makes my jerky great.
Yeah.
So it's a niche that no one else is in, and it enables me to not have to go into the 7-Elevens or the Stop and Goes or the gas stations and compete with all those other things that are $2 a bag less, that aren't going to get my attention or aren't going to won't get the customer's attention.
And most of these breweries are, like you had said about the whiskey, like they don't offer a lot of food options or any food options. So when you are drinking beer and you get a little hungry, I mean, that's the perfect snack because it's not going to fill you up. That's what the beer's for. And, but it's a good, nice balance. So yes. I think you've hit on something really, really cool. And I wish you the best of luck with all that. And I follow you on Instagram, and you've gave me some places that I need to visit. So I'm looking forward to
you know what? When I'm done with this, maybe not done with this, but at some point I am going to create a JDawg Jerky beer tour and go visit all the beer breweries that sell my jerky.
That's awesome. That's very awesome.
T-shirts and everything. Yes.
I love it.
You'll be the first invite.
Yes, cool. Thank you. Well, we're wrapping up. I mean, this half hour went really, really fast. Yeah. I like to give this opportunity to my guests to just kind of promote yourself, how people can find you, how they can buy your product, or whatever else you want to talk about. So,
how to find me? I just discovered on my Wix app that I used to build my website that I can put a Google map on there on the back page, and I've got my logo at every location that I sell jerky. So if you want to find out where you can buy my jerky, go to my website, JDawgJerky.com, and there is a jerky distribution page on there with a map, and you can blow the map up and see every single location where they distribute my product. And then I will be at Kaufman's this summer, pretty much all summer, on Saturday mornings from, I believe it's 8 or 9 to 1 p.m., and that's a great market, even if you don't want jerky. They've got produce and a lot of great stuff. And I hang out at Urban quite a bit because we're kind of partners. So I go. It's 5 minutes from my house.
And their beer is delicious.
Their beer is delicious. You can talk.
Their sour was amazing. I can't wait for their new sour.
You can try my chocolate raspberry jerky starting tonight. And I just sent in another one of their beers called a honey brown down to my kitchen. So that's coming pretty soon. And I've also got a peanut butter stout coming out pretty soon. Peanut butter stout jerky. So coming soon.
That sounds delicious. Yeah. Well, we've had Melissa Busker chatting.
Hi, Melissa.
So yes, Melissa, thank you for joining us. And I agree. If we're going to have a tour, we need a charter bus because no driving allowed for that day.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. I wish you all the best. Yeah. And, it's been great watching your journey and, becoming better friends through this whole process. And I appreciate you being on here. And
I appreciate you and all of your help over the last couple of years, too.
That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. You know your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. You do too. You make some amazing jerky. So I've given it as gifts. I usually like to grab a bag. We were at the Crazy Llama and we grabbed a bag. That's right. That's the name of it. And in Roscoe, we grabbed a bag and it had been a while, but I was excited to see it there. But anyway, well, thank you. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe. And I can't wait to try that raspberry chocolate jerky.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.